got me going to go public and tell people about this was my compost got second prize in the local flower and produce show compost division. We want some of it, but we don't want all of it. And the bit we don't usually want is the peel. It has cut down how much rubbish I throw away. And at the end of it, I get things that are good for the garden. So in here, we've got various days of peelings. Put the rest of the peelings in there. And in the kitchen, it has a lid on because this does get a bit stinky, because the process is starting all by itself. Okay, so for me, by doing this system, which I call little rotters, and having all these buckets, I enjoy seeing all the different stages of how things decay down and all the creatures that are involved in each stage. So I had a bench that was just like an old plank of wood in this corner, and I realised that it was in the shade and on the soil, and those are the key things. And then in my local supermarket, they had these buckets for flowers, cut flowers. So they very kindly gave me their broken ones, and I came home and drilled loads of holes in there to let the air in, and in the bottom to let the water out and the air in. And actually, I didn't know what little creatures would appear at that point, but it lets the little creatures in and out. So I've got a bucket ready with all the holes in, so the air can get in, and also it won't get waterlogged. And then out of the kitchen comes all my vegetable peelings, supposedly rubbish. I usually line the kitchen bin with an old paper bag just to catch the drips. So that can get washed and go back in the kitchen, and this starts to form this chain of events. Here's the next stage. You can see little creatures flying around. They might be fruit flies or a little moth called thrips. Now this has been in here a few weeks, just about, I don't know, 3 weeks. They're part of the little creatures that are getting this process going. There's also bacteria and molds. Things are going fairly mouldy quite successfully, which is what makes it rather slippery. So I'm going to just take this over and see what's going on inside by tipping it out. See that, oh, yeah, it's been cold, so things like lettuce would normally have gone quite mouldy by now. Letting a bit of air in and mixing it about helps it all get going. The chain of events and see what's happening in this one. Ooh, it feels quite light. I can't remember what I put in here a few weeks ago. Let's have a look. Ah, well, like I say, it's cold. It hasn't gone much further. Should we see what's going on? I'll tip it out. I'm talking about badgers and stags rutting in the woods. But if it weren't for the little slugs and the fruit flies and the wood lice, those bigger creatures wouldn't be here either. There's one of the red worms. If you have mould, you can see the mould growing there. Once again, the little flying ones. The weather's been cold. And we haven't got many wood lice, that's what's surprising me. Essentially at the same stage as bucket number 2, so I might as well put them together. because that one's half empty and that one's half empty, and they're at the same stage. There's plenty of air, not squashing anything, and that gives me another bucket. So then that can go back, and we've got very early stage, next stage. Let's see what's happening in here. It's starting to go black. Something has germinated. Poor old parsnip has carried on growing. Tip it out and have a look. Right, now this is a very important stage. So I'm letting the air back in. Oh, here's another one of our friends. The worms. Having a nice lunch in there. Whole family. There's another fungus that's making white spores. It's a larval stage. Very rotten apple. Very squishy. So that rotting is not from an animal. That's happened from the cells inside the apple anyway, because it's dead. Oh, lots of flying creatures, loads of them, and that looks really sludgy and slidgy. Oh, this really is smelly. Oh, okay. I'll just let a bit of air into it. It's really quite stinky, and the word rotten is appropriate here. Horrible. Right, actually I can put that in with there. I can put that in with there because they're essentially at the same stage. It's been winter, it's been cold. This process, oh, that's gone quite dark now. If it were warmer, I would see more slugs and snails, I think. It's got quite, here we are. Very squidgy, but going to the characteristic black that we know soil is. Still areas where it's just going mouldy, with white spores of mould. In warmer weather, this would all be going along faster, and there would be many more little creatures that you could see. So we'd have woodlice, millipedes, different types of slugs and snails, and probably different types of worms as well. This spring has been quite cold and very wet, and so it's going a little bit slowly. There's lots of little tiny worms in here, so when it warms up they'll be able to grow faster. Oh, there's a whole family. I'm being gentle because they're quite soft. Here they go. Lots and lots of worms. A sort of worm party. What's that? Another one of those little caterpillar-y, maggoty things. Don't know what it is. The decay and compost process has really got going, and it's changing into something else. Weight it down to stop any bigger animals getting involved. Now, hopefully, we have the end product here. This is Little Rotter's compost. Look at that. Oh, something germinated. Doesn't matter. We can put that in the earlier compost. That might be a tomato seed or a pumpkin seed. Oh, it shows you that plants do grow in this compost. Look at that. And doesn't smell. Doesn't smell. And it's just crumbly. And so this is what our food can grow from. And it started off as potato peel, onion skins, carrot peel, all of that. I just sieve it through. Sometimes you might find a little rubber band from the spring onion, bunch of spring onions. And then there's your end product. Ready for some more growing. So I like seeing all these different stages in how compost is formed, but I don't put in leftover food from meals. I don't put in eggshells. I don't put in things that will encourage creatures that I don't particularly want in my garden or in my neighbour's garden. So it's quite simple really. And in the end I end up with a product I can put on my plants.